All right, hello, welcome back, everybody. PayPal and Patreon links are in the description and the top pinned comment if you want to support me. Only do so if you actually can. So, we're going through an update on the latest shale formation production levels. The current actual production levels are the ones on the left side above the graph. The ones under the month of January, obviously, the numbers under the February abbreviation are just an EIA estimate of what they believe it will be next month. So, starting with the largest one, of course, the Permian Shale Formation, overlaying West Texas and parts of eastern New Mexico. Permian is leveling off or peaking right around the area I expected it to, roughly around 6 million barrels per day. Currently coming in just under 6 million barrels per day of oil production once again. Over the last month, going down a tiny bit from 5.98 to 5.97 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, as its oil production is leveling off, its gas production is still increasing. Granted, not by as large as amounts as previously anymore, but this time they have gone up further still a bit from 24.23 billion cubic feet per day up to 24.27. Next, we have the major shale gas formation, the Appalachia Shale, underlying obviously the low portions of the Appalachia region around the Appalachian Mountains. And the Appalachia Shale ended up plateauing in the lower range of where I expected for it, in the upper 30s, ending up with its highest peak point between 36 and 37, and now it has been gradually declining its way back down under 36, now heading down towards 35. Over the past month, it's dropped from 35.76 down to 35.64 billion cubic feet per day as of the latest production levels. And then the one other predominantly natural gas shale, the Haynesville Shale, the one I got wrong, I miscalculated things for and thought it was gonna peak more around 13, but its capability ended up exceeding that, and it actually ended up getting all the way to 17 billion cubic feet per day before hitting its peak. And it is now in its decline, going down through the 16s, just now passing under 16 and a half, and coming in for its most recent output levels at 16.4 billion cubic feet per day. Bakken, up in North Dakota and parts of Montana, is continuing to wobble around 1.2 or 1.3, this time coming in right at 1.3 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, its natural gas production has been gradually still managing to inch its way upwards over the past month, climbing up from 3.47 up to now 3.48 billion cubic feet per day of gas production. The Eagle Ford down in Texas is wobbling around, instead of between 1.2 and 1.3, it's wobbling around between 1.1 and 1.2. This time coming in once again the same as the previous month at 1.15 million barrels per day. And Eagle Ford should be able to hold on for a few more years until or through 2026. Its natural gas production continuing to wobble around the 7 area, this time coming in at 7.27 billion cubic feet per day. The Niobrara, which is out at the foot of the Rocky Mountains across several states, undulating its way through life, cleaning out in the 600s and 700s, this time coming in at 690,000 barrels per day. Meanwhile, its gas production stayed the same as the previous month, coming in once again at 5.34 billion cubic feet per day. The Anadarko Shale, which overlays a portion of Oklahoma, did the same, but for its oil production instead, holding the same level as the previous month, 392,000 barrels per day. Meanwhile, its gas production continued declining, dropping a bit further from 6.75 down to 6.7 billion cubic feet per day. The Barnett Shale, in a small section of north central Texas, peaked in the early 2010s, up a bit above 5 billion cubic feet per day of gas production, as it is predominantly gas, and has since declined its way all the way down under 2, now hitting 1.76 billion cubic feet per day of gas production. And then nearby in, I believe, Arkansas and Louisiana, the Fayetteville Shale got up at one point around a similar time frame to somewhere between 2 and 3, but since has fallen a long ways down and is now down under 1 billion cubic feet per day, down to only 851 million with an M. And then there are a number of countries where shale is being produced outside of the US, but nowhere near as in massive amounts as with the exception of Argentina now. Most of the other shale formations around the world have just not performed as well as those in the US have. In China, their shale oil formations have been a severe disappointment. And even after over a decade of trying stuff with them now, they've only managed to get up to about 60,000 barrels per day out of them. Their gas shales have performed a bit better, but they're starting to taper off lower than they would have preferred. They were aiming for around 3.5 billion cubic feet per day, but they're starting to level off closer to 2.5. Argentina, the one other place with a shale formation that does have the performance levels of shale encountered in the US, the Vaca Muerta Shale in the west central portion of the country at the base of the Andes Mountains. The Vaca Muerta is almost solely responsible for the recovery of Argentina's oil production levels and is now up to around 350,000 barrels per day. And that's it for this one. So thank you everybody for sticking around and listening. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already. PayPal and Patreon links are down there if anybody wants to support me. Just only do so if you actually can. Also, plenty of links to various Google Docs are in the description, with those having all kinds of different data compilations, graphs, all that stuff, and all that data is there 24/7. It's free. You can look at it whenever you want. Link to my catch channel will be in the top pinned comment as always. And may God bless and protect all of you. I will see you all around next time.